Marc Kramer, Senior Lecturer of Entrepreneurship at Penn University and host of Asian Founders and Funders. Today's guest is Bipana Dhakal, Founder, CEO of Learning Fortress. Bipana, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mark, for having me here.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you, and I thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Bipana, tell me about your professional background before we start talking about your company.
Okay, so I'm Bipana Dhakal. I'm born and based in Nepal, and I am a professional social worker and also a development practitioner. So I majorly work around the sector of quality education, youth involvement and engagement, and rural community development. So yeah.
Excellent, excellent. So tell us about your company, Learning Fortress. What does it do, and why did you come up with this idea?
Okay, so the idea of the Learning Fortress, it was there back of my mind since my high school. I wanted to do something for my community, seeing the problem of how non-formal education and the environment related to it is not really accessible to a lot of children in my community. So I thought, why not start it? So it was the time of pandemic, 2020, March of 2020, I remember I came back to my hometown. I spent my time, doing some pilot study, doing some research around the community, what exactly the need of non-formal education is, and how exactly can I bring the Learning Fortress into scenario. So we found the prospect. We did a lot of research, collaboration with local stakeholders, local government, a lot of educational institutions, and came to the conclusion that okay, the Learning Fortress is needed. So what the Learning Fortress does is it bridges the inaccessibility of non-formal education to the children of rural and marginalized communities of Nepal. So we bring together the children out of their classroom in their leisure time, and then engage them in teaching and learning practices which better suits their passion, as well as build up their interest, build up their persona as well. So that's how the Learning Fortresses, has played a role into both rural community development and also non-formal education for those children.
So how did you come up with that name? I mean, that's a very unusual name for an educational thing. That Learning Fortress almost sounds like a money management firm or a cybersecurity firm.
It's interesting that the name itself, we took quite a good amount of time to go over what exactly resonates the best with what we are trying to do. So it was not just my decision, but I, consulted with my friends, with my family, most importantly. They play a huge role that, okay, since you're really passionate about this, and since this really means a lot to you, why don't you associate it with something which is fun as well as mean the exact thing what you're trying to do. So yeah, we were trying to build a fortress of learning for the children. So that's how we, came up with the name of from my friends and family. Yeah.
Is your family in education?
No, they're not.
What does your family do?
So my parents, they own business. They are local business runners here in my hometown.
Nice, very, very nice. And what age group are you, what's your target market for this?
So the age group that the Learning Fortress is directly working with is the children from age group of 4 to 16. So that's what the children of the Learning Fortress are directly associated with. But beyond that, we also engage with young population, which are from the age group of around less than 28. So we also work with, young or youth of the community to engage with the rural community development that we are doing side by side with the Learning Fortress.
And how many kids are in the program? And is it all online or is it in person as well?
So till from 2020 of March to now, we have 80 children with us. So we have this setting in person. So those children, these 80 kids are, we engage them in cohort basis. So it's not like 80 children at together, we engage with them, but it's based on cohort. So for some cohort, we have 6-month packages. For some cohort, we have 1 year as per the need arises, as per their necessity. So we decide it accordingly.
Did you say it's online or in person?
It's in person.
In person. And so it's almost like English language learning centers that you see sprinkled throughout Asia.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, you can say that, yeah.
And what are the subjects that you're teaching?
So we teach them basically things that are out of school, that's not associated with any typical subjects, right? So it's based on the age groups. So for example, for the age group of 4 to 7, we have classes such as the teachings about community development, teaching about basic morals, teaching about group work. So the things that really means for them, from a small age, that's what we teach them. And also things that interest them, mostly related to play. So we associate play with learning as well for those age group. For the age group of 8 to 13, we engage the children mostly in sports activity, which both develop their persona as well as their confidence. So we target whatever activities they find interesting, we study that, and then we make sure that these things are incorporated into our classes or the sessions we give. And for the children above 13, we try our best to make it more relevant for their professional journey. For example, communication skills, leadership skills, the job market, connecting them with job market or stuffs like that. So we try to make sure that these things are relevant, both for their interest as well as the context of what suits the best for them.
And has there been, how has the community accepted this?
Okay, so it was very, like, at first, the whole concept of non-formal education was not really welcoming to a lot of parents, to a lot of people in the community itself, because they didn't know much about it. They didn't know much about the importance of it. So the first 8 months that I did the pilot study, the research on how exactly the Learning Fortress would be standing in the community itself, I went door to door, me along with my team, some of the volunteers that I had. We went door to door of the community. We talked with the parents. We, tried to convince them that, okay, this is learning formal education. This is what we'll be doing for your children. This is why it is important. So we tried to knock every doors of the community for the 8 months, not just to the parents' house, but also we had this whole conversation with the local stakeholders like community leaders, local government, as well as the educational institution, convincing them that, okay, this is non-formal education. This is why it is important. We need to step up and stuff like that. So after 8 months, slowly, I remember we first started with like just 10 children who were in our, session, who used to come to our sessions. And then slowly, as the trust increased, the number of children also increased. And now our domain of both teaching and learning has increased overall as well.
Wonderful. Did you fund this yourself?
Yes. Initially, I funded it myself. Till now as well, we do not have a fixed source of grants that we have to run this. But what we do is that we basically fund it with our pocket money, majorly mine, the work that I do professionally. From that money, I run the Learning Fortress. Along with that, we also tend to apply for some grants that are relevant. If we are able to secure that grant, then amazing. That also helps the Learning Fortress as well. And some, amazing mentors that I have, they also tend to, do some donations for the Learning Fortress as well. So yeah, that's how Learning Fortress is running.
Awesome. And how are you marketing this out to the community? How's the community find out about you?
So the community that I'm working on is, so it's my hometown. So I grew up in this community. I know, what the community is like, what are the needs of the communities, and the people of the community already knew me. So that was a plus point. I always see this, that since the community knew me and had this confidence, or, at least belief on me that, okay, Bipana is here to do some good. That was a good point for me. So I didn't have to put up extra efforts to build up that level of trust and confidence in my community. So it was already built in. But as I proposed, or as the Learning Fortress prospered, like we tend to do the work, and the community saw the results, how it is impacting a lot of children, their communities as well. So that's how the whole notion was changed. But they're pretty much really supportive. The community, the local government, all of them are supportive.
Who are the teachers?
So yeah, the teachers are young people from the community. They are the volunteers. So the teachers are the volunteers that are out of high school. So some of them are some of them are in between their undergrad studies. Some of them have already graduated. Some of them are those who have their own jobs. They take out time for the Learning Fortress and then commit themselves with this. But mostly they are young people. For now, we have below 28. Yeah, so those are the teachers that are there.
Are you teaching entrepreneurship?
Yes. So yeah, we are teaching basics of entrepreneurship to the children above the age of 13. So we teach them the basics of entrepreneurship, a lot of things related to leadership as well, communication, as I already mentioned, and relevance to the job markets, and professionalism related to that as well. We try to prepare them for the best case real world scenario. That's what we are focusing with these age groups.
So has this gone exactly to plan of what you thought it would be when you came up with the idea? And if not, what's different than what you thought it would be?
I think yes, it has gone for the better reasons. It has gone not quite exactly as for the plans, because the plan of Learning Fortress was to stick within one domain of non-formal education, engaging children within that domain. But we are happy that we have been able to enlarge our domain and not just limit non-formal education within the children, but also kind of advocate for the community development, relating non-formal education to it. So we're trying to make the most out of how the children, young people, can be better asset for the community itself, and linking them with the community leaders, the local government, so that the transparent community development can be, championed from onwards. So that's what the domain has quite extended, as well as been really relevant for what the community needed. But I'm happy that things didn't go as planned. Things didn't remain in one domain, but prospered as well.
And how long did it take you to get the government buy-in? Because man, usually any government anywhere in the world, that's going to be a hard thing to sell. And so how did you get them to buy in, and how long did that take?
So with the local government, as I already mentioned, since I'm from the community itself, and I had this base of doing community advocacy from quite earlier. So that's how the local government knew about me. And I went to local government and had this chat about community development at first, and what as a young person I can be bringing to the table, along with a lot of volunteers that are associated with Learning Fortress. So that's how the whole trust mechanism was built between the local government and us. For now, the local government has not like been an official partner, as in, they cannot commit officially to us because we are not registered organization. We are, a community-based foundation. They cannot like officially like be a partner for us, but what they are doing is that they have been the amazing support for both the Learning Fortress and what we are advocating for. So that's how it is working.
Do you think that's one of the positives of Nepal culturally, that they were so accepting of this? I mean, I can't imagine that there are other parts of the world. I mean, even the US where I'm from, there had been some pushback for sure. And even as altruistic as your program is, people would be worried about religious overtones. Are they teaching the right things? Are they too progressive? Bunch of different things would be of concern. So how does that work there? Like why is it working in your culture?
I think the whole thing with cultural domain is also cultural and traditional domain is also something which keeps us close knitted, I guess. So within our community, we are close knitted with some sort of relation, not necessarily be it related to blood. So even with the people from my community who are into local government, we address them as like uncle, aunties, brothers, sisters, right? So it's not related to blood. Nobody is there is related to my blood, yet they consider me to be my daughter. They address me as chori, which in English it means daughter. So that also brings a lot of kind of calm, or you do not feel uncomfortable when you're reaching to them. And also they have this pattern of showing trust to you when whenever you are proposing good stuff. So definitely they went through my proposal of the Learning Fortress, what we are doing. They inspected it. Necessarily does not mean that they just said, oh wow, you're doing it, yes, this is accepted. No, but a kind of like warmth and a kind of trust was built because of the cultural foundation that we have, because of the belief that we carry, that our community is a family and everybody in here are related to one another in many ways. So that's, I think, also how things has worked with me and the Learning Fortress.
How big do you imagine getting this program to be? How many students do you think you'll get to, and what period of time?
Mm-hmm. So we are thinking the Learning Fortress maybe in some years. We are thinking to at least expand the Learning Fortress, not just within my community, within my hometown, but even to other parts of Nepal. So we have already started doing some pilot projects. Recently we were visiting some of the rural districts here in Nepal to see the prospect of how exactly Learning Fortress stand to even form some sort of network that can run it. So we are on the hunt of finding some prospects of how exactly can we expand Learning Fortress to other parts of Nepal. And also we do have plans to, if possible, why not make it global as well, to engage people, children from other parts of the world as well, to the children of Nepal. So there happens, local teaching and learning environment is formed. So yeah, that's some plan that we have for future as well.
Are you planning to apply to the Gates Foundation, some of the major foundations in the US who have a global reach?
We are planning to apply for some grants. We are on the process of building up that portfolio. Since the Learning Fortress was majorly focusing our work in grounds, and we have limited human resources, limited other resources as well to support or to even make a portfolio for what we are doing. But now we have the prospect of building our portfolio, so it backs up or at least helps us to apply for such bigger platforms which connects us globally as well. So yeah, I mean, we have our advisors, our mentors, and our volunteers as well, who are really passionate and giving their time to make this happen. So yeah, soon it will happen, definitely.
That's fantastic. What have been the positives of being an entrepreneur, and what have been some of the challenges?
I think the positive is definitely the fact that I'm able to give back to my community. I've always believed in the fact that my identity is related to what I bring to the community. That's how I was grown. My parents always say this thing to me that no matter where, wherever you are, in which part of the world you are, better look back to your community, make sure that you are able to give back to your community. So that's how I was raised. So maybe because of that notion as well, the better side of being a social entrepreneur is that it keeps connected me with the community, with the soil I was born in, and give back to a lot of people who do not have the same privileges as I do. I consider it to be my privilege that I was able to have such a good education. My family was able to support it, and I'm able to do a lot of good stuff. So I envision the same thing for the children that do not have it. And I think that's one of the many beautiful things that I feel, as a social entrepreneur, I have it. And one disadvantage definitely would be, um, I think you have to give it all. In my case, I'm giving it all to be a social entrepreneur. So that's kind of, making a disbalance between my personal and professional life. So I think that's also another, one slightly disadvantage of being a social entrepreneur from my side, that a lot of professional and personal limitations and time, especially, that I should be like, okay, separating. I'm not able to do that because of, me being a social entrepreneur for a cause. Yeah.
How many hours a week are you having to invest in this? And is there a time you're not thinking about this?
No, there's not a time. I cannot even frame the time that how many weeks. I'm 24 hours a day, if I can say that. I am
Yeah.
invested in it. So yeah, I mean, for my professional work, I'm doing the work like remote um because of the Learning Fortress. So I chose to stay in my hometown so that I can run the Learning Fortress. And I'm like, opting to do other remote work so I can finance the Learning Fortress, because of this reason, because I cannot leave, like, I cannot stop thinking about the Learning Fortress. So it's like 24 hours I'm thinking about it, I'm investing myself in it.
That's wonderful. Anybody who's listening to this interview, how could they possibly be helpful to you?
um I think I really appreciate anyone, either they share a passion about education, about change making or not, but I really appreciate any sort of suggestions, any sort of maybe a talk. That's what I believe, because we are in the process of having a lot of like suggestions. We are collecting suggestions, we are collecting ideas on how we can make Learning Fortress better. We are networking, so we can make the Learning Fortress reachable to a lot of people who might think it's interesting, or who might even have ideas to do something same as that in their own community or similar. So I think that's something which I would really appreciate, if anyone thinks that, okay, Learning Fortress is doing good or not, if they can drop in some comments, suggestions about it, or even contribute ideas on how we can do it better, or we can do incorporate amazing stuff, that would be great. And I think collaboration is another thing which we at the Learning Fortress are very much passionate and looking forward to. So any sort of collaboration that prosper local teaching and learning environment, we would really, really appreciate it. And that's also something that we are looking forward to. And yeah, third most important thing is any sort of donations, if they think is worthy for the Learning Fortress. If they think any sort of, be it monetary, be it other resources, they can help for the Learning Fortress, it is more than appreciated. So yeah, this is something I vouch for the community who's listening to me out here.
Well, I thank you for taking the time to tell us about the Learning Fortress, and it sounds like such a worthwhile cause. And I'm sure it's been very gratifying for you to make a difference in your community.
Yeah, indeed. It's really it's I think it's, for me, it's like beyond social entrepreneurship. It's like even above that. So incorporating the side of entrepreneurship with the passion that me, along with a lot of like young people in my community, hold for change making. So I think it's worth it. I encourage everyone around, in the world. Let's get started with change making. It necessarily does not have to be a big foundation, big organization. Let's start with one idea, and that's what I believe. Yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much.